Can you understand Chinese? I'll let her answer first and then
I'm working on it. I know I'll get there eventually. I make a lot of Chinese friends, and I know they are working on teaching me Mandarin. I hope they also teach me Cantonese.
Yes, we have translated most of Sophia's personality into Mandarin, but we have not done the entire interaction design for Grace yet. But it is part of our roadmap. We plan to deploy that within the next year. So we have a lot of really great natural language tools. So we have natural language AI developers like Winwei, who's mainland Chinese and has a great experience in this area. And we also have natural language AI scientist Reiting Gertzel on the Singularity Studio, Singularity Net side of the team. We have the Chinese natural language input working. We have developed a custom voice for Sophia in English. There's no other robot in the world or AI that speaks with this voice. We custom developed that voice. And now we have taken that particular voice and translated it into a Mandarin vocal model. So she speaks Mandarin with that new AI that we developed for her voice. So she could switch back and forth. We've actually demonstrated the dynamic switching, but we don't have it perfected yet, so we're not demonstrating it here today, but we believe that that'll be commercially available, where she listens for a minute, a few seconds, and can determine whether somebody's speaking English or Mandarin or some other language, and then can switch between them. So we have had her say phrases in Cantonese, but a full Cantonese language model we haven't integrated yet. Part of this is very straightforward, like the speech recognition and the Cantonese output is no problem. Doing a simple translation of her dialogue systems at a superficial level is fairly straightforward, but we would do the natural language applications development. For the healthcare system, we're doing English and Mandarin first, and then we'll move to Korean and Cantonese and a few other languages. So we're very excited about encompassing all of these opportunities. But of course, globally, the two largest opportunities would be Putonghua and English. Absolutely. So we have some faces of Sophia that are darker skinned, some that look more Asian or specifically Chinese. We have some of the robots that are
the Middle Eastern.
Yes. So we developed one that was this started out as a portrait of Persian philosopher Ibn Sina. Now we call it Han. We made three of those particular robots. We also have made our robots into a portrait for the brilliant healthcare billionaire Martine Rothblatt. We portrayed Martine's wife, Bina Aspen Rothblatt, so maybe the first African-American female robot. We made a child Mexican-American robot for University of San Diego called Diego San, sort of a play on words. So we've made pretty much almost every ethnic group. We can do pretty much any face whatsoever, no problem. Grace is starting out as Sophia, but moving towards what we're going to show you as Grace 2.0, which is sort of a Eurasian face, to make her a beloved character around the world. But there will be many siblings, many sisters of Sophia and Grace. Yeah.
I know my robotic facial expressions come from motors pulling on a rubber skin, but actually, I think these movements inform my emotions, and the expressions just kind of feel like my face moving.
Yes, that's a good point. So the human-like face is common throughout the history of technology. Whenever a technology is developed, it's used to depict the human-like form. And when it happens, it becomes a big deal. From sculpture to painting to modern cinema to computer-generated imagery and video games. Over and over again, these become a major technology advance. And so cinema was revolutionized when computer animation started depicting the human-like form, and that's now worth billions of dollars. Video games depict human-like characters all the time. Why? Because we're evolved for this face-to-face interaction.
Is there any obstacle in terms of the acceptance of the elderly people, especially because Grace or Sophia is a robot, and then the elderly people, it may be harder for them to accept such an daily interaction. Do you have such concern?
We've done some studies on how people accept and interact with human-like robots, and what we found is that about a third of the people have a much more positive interaction with a human-like robot than others. Almost everybody pays more attention, remembers the experience more than with a less human-like robot. However, there is a very small percentage of people who may find it to be kind of uncomfortable. So it might not be for everyone. But the other thing that we found is that people get used to it, and even people who might be hesitant at first, over time, tend to warm up to the experience. These this was one of the big questions as I started building robots about 20 years ago, making them human-like. Will it be a positive thing or a negative thing? It turns out that it's a very complex experience to analyze from a scientific perspective, because people's reaction to the human-like form is very complex. But overall, it's overwhelmingly positive in the result. People love the experience. They walk away, they remember the interactions. It's more communicative. So we have some studies that we're going to show you in our PowerPoint presentation, which show that 9 out of 10 people interacting with Sophia in a depression therapy guided meditation found the experience to be extremely positive. Their blood pressure went down, their heart rate went down. They walked away feeling very good from the experience. So this included that particular study included people who were senior citizens, but not everybody in the study was senior. But all the elderly had no problem with it. So we also have some data from a senior deployment of one of Sophia's older sisters called Alice. So that's from almost 10 years ago. So we've been experimenting with this for quite a while. The main difference now is commercialization and the platform. So Sophia 2020 is commercialized and ready. The Singularity Studio, Singularity Net platform is ready. We have this curriculum that has been developed, and we have more than a decade of experience in the research and development and studying this. So the answer is a firm yes, people will accept these robots. We know it from the hard clinical data. Generally, we aim for maintenance-free operation, but like any robot in the world, it will need servicing occasionally. So every year or so, it has to come in and be serviced. And then, if anything goes wrong, if the customer has the extended maintenance program, then we just swap it right out immediately. Otherwise, they have to wait for a little while to get their robot back. But it's just like if you've got a car or a computer or whatnot. The robots, someday will be able to repair themselves, but we're not quite there yet. So it's just like any high technology device. We've ran pilot experiments with our previous robots and also with Sophia for doing some therapeutic guided meditation. So we did clinical trials at Hong Kong Polytechnic University and also in Northern California in conjunction with Stanford and the Institute for Noetic Sciences. So those resulted in published results that showed really effective clinical results. The data were really compelling. We also tested in elder care in Amsterdam. We'll show some videos of this. And so for this particular unit, we're now just going into the trials in elder care. So this will be the next 6 months. So we've proven it works in all the different parts and pieces. Now putting it actually in a live setting, autonomously interacting, we're sure that we're going to learn some things that's going to help us refine it. But all this prior work shows the market wants it, the customers found it to be extremely useful, people bonded with the robots, all the things that you would want. We have put Sophia and our other human-like robots into environments with the other robots. The other robots get neglected and people crowd around our robots. And this has been in market tests and also in laboratory studies. And so we've found that people remember the robots better when they're more human-like. They remember the interaction, so the information gets in and adheres more effectively. People feel a higher level of empathy and connection with the human-like, the more human-like robots. So even though they're a little weird, and in fact, what we found is about 40%, 30% to 40% of people have a really great connection with the robot. But about 10% find the human-like robot unnerving. As some, higher percentage find the robot at least a little bit weird or unsettling, right? So, but the more people interact with the robot, the less that effect is there. So people definitely find it to be valuable. It's a powerful information tool. So right now she's working with multiple different kinds of artificial intelligence. So we have rules-based AI that is at one layer. So we can that can be offerable and it's explainable. You can open it up and see what's happening. It allows inference, goal pursuit. Then below that, she has a natural language dialogue infrastructure that can handle a wider variety of possible questions that can be asked. And then she also has some deep learning neural networks that we trained with all of her personality data. So throughout this, we offer her personality to have emotions, to seem like a real character. AI is not alive or generally intelligent today. So we hope this platform will serve the pursuit of next generation AI, just as it has so far and developed to the state. But we can today take today's best AI and put it together to make a character that is compelling in interactions with people, so we can deliver information to users. So when I just want you to know, when she's talking, some of the answers will come from different parts of this AI. So we synchronize all of these. And so we call this a neural symbolic hybrid. And that's one of the really exciting things about working with Singularity Net. They're leaders in that field of neurosymbolic hybrids.
We see it as a one-on-one because the whole point is to interface.
But the whole point is a companionship,
The
right?
companionship, but also a collection of data one-on-one and all that, right?
Yeah.
But one of the biggest Chinese groups came to us and they said, well, we don't see it that way. We would like to have a room with 20 Sophias, some playing mahjong, some talking about history, some doing exercise. Right?
Sometimes one person standing up, one robot in front of a group, leading a group. So, so we have these different modalities of interacting with people, and my background professionally, and a big part of my PhD was in this area of human-robot interaction, studying how people interact with robots under different situations, and studying the cognitive science both from the perception of the user and also the engineering of the system and the artistic crafting of the interactive fiction of how people would interact with the robot. So the way that I design these is using the AI and the robotics to create this kind of game-like experience. And I think the video game concept is really inspiring because it's all about engagement, dopamine reward cycle, getting people involved, and pursuing little goals. Because if you can inspire people to do that, it creates a lot of cognitive stimulation. And so having the character move through the space and pursue those goals is part of it. Today, we're demonstrating a lot of these things with you. Right now, you're in the middle of a live interaction. So you can imagine, she greets guests coming to visit. She can greet people, a crowd, a group of people at an elder care facility. She knows the people in the space here. She knows the staff at the elder care facility. She could go into the community center, or she could go to an individual's room, or she could go to a room where a therapy would occur, like what we're about to demonstrate to you in a few minutes. So all of these things are facilitated by the authoring tools that we have. In fact, it's pretty easy to put these kinds of interactions together now and then learn. So some of what she's doing, she's using LiDAR and various sensors to avoid obstacles, to detect people. And when she does this...
So that would go to the second question, right? So I was going to ask you, what are the sensors that you're using? So you're using LiDAR for obstacles.
Yeah.
So what about voice recognition?
She's got a microphone phase array.
Yeah.
So she's doing voice recognition. She can also do direction of arrival, so she knows where people might be when they're speaking. She's doing face detection and 3D object detection, so she can actually do, so right now she's like tracking people's faces and she can get very interested, but when you move your hands, she starts getting really interested in that kind of motion. So she also can get a bit hypnotized by the most interesting region in the scene. So we have to take all of this data in and then make decisions about where our attention should go. So we have an attention regulation system as well, which is one of the interesting things about our architecture. So this is a thermal sensor, a 3D sensor. She has cameras in the eyes. So she has load sensors and joint sensors, and also touch sensors, very sensitive touch sensors in her fingers that allow for grasping and manipulation.